Blessed be everybody. It's time for a very special astrological forecast for each sign, covering 3 big retrogrades that happen every year and go on for a very, very long time. As I was fixing to get ready to do the June monthly astrology forecasts for everyone, I decided that I wanted to dedicate a special video to Pluto retrograde, Saturn retrograde, and Neptune retrograde, as they are all happening in the month of June, or at least getting started in the month of June. And that term retrograde can sometimes, have a bit of a connotation if a person is not too learned in astrology. And I feel like we need to do a bit of a breakdown of what happens with outer planet retrogrades, such as Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, versus, say, inner planet retrogrades, such as Mercury, Venus, or Mars. When we have outer planet retrogrades, things tend to be a little bit easier and a lot more nuanced. And so I figured an intro into outer planet retrogrades, right? Because I'm a teacher. That's what we're going to do here in the intro. And then, of course, you can navigate the chapters in the down bar below to see what is going on with each individual sign. So planets like Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto are considered generational defining planets, or generation defining planets, I should say, in astrology. The reason they're considered that way is because they take more than 2 years to go through a given sign. That is the rule. And they do affect the sensibility of the masses, not just the individual. And outer planets themselves, even when direct, tend to be fairly nuanced. There's a bit of a mix, right, in easy versus difficult, challenging versus auspicious, pleasant versus maybe unpleasant sometimes, and they can be a bit of a mixed bag. But when they go retrograde, they tend to ease up on the more difficult sides of themselves. When we have an outer planet go retrograde, it's all about the release of pressures that may be affecting an entire group, an entire collective, community, or a generation. In the present, we see a release of a pressure or a shared experience from person to person, or in a global experience. This is why things tend to lighten up a little bit when outer planets go retrograde. We're not sharing in the energies of a group. We get a chance to be more sovereign, more independent. We're not hooked, corded, or blended with everybody the same way we were before. Now, depending on what planet is going retrograde, that is going to show us where we are not as hooked or not as collectively sharing in the same experience or sharing in the same energy, not picking up what's going on in the neighbor's house or in town or online or whatever, and where we are able to be more with just our own energy and what we choose to bring in, not what kind of washes over us like a wave. I have noticed that for some people this can be a bit challenging, but I have also noticed that those particular people, that I observe, say, in my own life, those are people that tend to get a lot of energy from people, if you know what I mean, and kind of depend on getting energy from people in order to keep their engine running. And this can sometimes be a lesson, and we might observe that throughout the course of this period. Where is it that one needs to sort of stand in their own light and be the source of their own power versus maybe feeding on what is being given off by others? But for each and all of us, it is a time of more autonomy, more sovereignty, and a release from pressures, obligations, and drains in order to do good work. If you have an outer planet retrograde in your chart, whatever that outer planet rules as far as its correspondences, right? What is Neptune the ruler of? What is Saturn the ruler of? What is, Pluto the ruler of? And how it affects the entire collective, right? Everyone on the planet. You are not in the mix. You are an exclusion to the shared experience that may be kind of getting passed back and forth through everybody else that might be sort of woven into those fibers. And that can be its own story. It can be its own journey, right? You're kind of out of the mainstream in a sense there, right? You are an outlier to that collective experience, which can be very beneficial. It can also come with its own unique challenges and its own unique story, right? Because there is a little bit of differentiation, but you are not woven in to the passed around or shared experiences of others with regards to that planet and what it rules. So let's talk about what is going on with each of these outer planets turning retrograde, Pluto, Saturn, and Neptune in order, and what areas of life they are going to work the most for each sign. We've got Pluto retrograde as of May, sliding back into Capricorn on June 11th, and Pluto retrograde will remain in Capricorn through the 10th of October. Remember, Pluto retrograde is all about cleaning up old business to make room for opportunities that have been trying to manifest themselves, but they need more room. The lesson with Pluto retrograde is always the same. Watch out for hoarding past experiences. Make sure that you remember that there's only so much reality we can experience in a given moment. And so sometimes the more we hold on to from the past, the less new can actually, well, make a home for itself in our present and in our future. However, with Pluto retrograde, again, because this is about cleaning up old business to make room for opportunities that have been trying to manifest themselves, you're going to be finding that a lot of stories are closing up, and you are going to be getting a chance to purge a lot of binds or a lot of obligations or a lot of matters that have followed you into the present that have maybe been keeping what you've been looking for or better opportunities from being able to fully connect with you. If a person has a Pluto retrograde in their natal chart, this is a lesson that they are going through in this lifetime. Sometimes I've noticed people who have Pluto retrograde in their chart do tend to hold on to the past. They don't let things go wherever that Pluto retrograde is. And it's important to know when to let things go, to know when something else is getting ready to begin, or to at least know when to approach something a different way, and know when it might not always be the best time to stick to one's guns versus when it is a good time to stick to one's guns. That's a lesson, right? It always comes, every planet has a lesson that it's teaching us in our chart. But with Pluto retrograde for everybody, it's a time of, again, cleaning up old business and old obligations in order to make room for opportunities that have been trying to manifest, but they need more room if they're going to completely manifest. Now, if you are an Aries, this is happening in your 10th house of career, upward mobility, status, station, promotions, and raises. If you are a Taurus, this is happening in your 9th house of higher education, government legal proceedings, travel, your reach, influence, popularity, right? How you are actually able to influence the world. It also covers culture, getting you out of your personal bubble, personal expansion as well as business expansion, and anything relating to your spiritual path and practice. If you are a Gemini, this is happening in your 8th house of shared resources, passive income, intimacy, self-employment earnings, money that you may share with a partner, be it a spouse or a business partner, as well as anything relating to supplemental income that may not be a part of how you earn money. So this could be maybe, sales, incentive programs, bonuses, right? Things that kind of tack on to a salary or hourly income, sales, or anything like that. All of that is also coming in here. Investments as well. If you are a Cancerian, then this is happening in your 7th house of partnerships, your closest one-on-one connections. This is your boyfriend, girlfriend, BFF, business partner, husband, wife, roommate, all the people you share your closest one-on-one involvements and connections with. If you are a Leo, this is happening in your 6th house of work, your reputation, your schedule, what you offer to the world, the services you're giving to your community, as well as the people that you serve with. If you are a Virgo, this is happening in your 5th house of romance, creativity, recreation, as well as any monetizable creative or recreational pastimes or passions, your relationships with your kids, and parenthood. If you are a Libra, this is happening in your fourth house of home and family, the domicile, your living situation, as well as anything relating to your home economy, your roots, or anything going back to your natal family. If you are a Scorpio, this is happening in your third house of communications, pacts, promises, and commitments, your peer group, helpful third parties, and collaborations. If you are a Sagittarius, this is happening in your second house of earned income, employment, your values, and your valuables. And if you are a Capricorn, this is happening in your first house. Excuse me. This is happening in your first house, which is covering basically all areas of your life at once, right? Your first house is all about you, your journey, your story, as well as anything that may be going on in different parts of your astrology chart that may be affecting another part of your chart. It's kind of sorting out the whole thing. If you are an Aquarius, this is happening in your 12th house, which is your past, your privacy, your hidden zone, anything relating to, private matters that you might be kind of dealing with outside of the public, things you don't share with the public, or things going back into your personal past or even your family history. And for those of you who are Pisces people, this is happening in your 11th house of friendships and social networking, your loftiest goals and ambitions, anything relating to your platonic support system and adventures you want to go on and big goals you want to accomplish in this life. And remember, this is going to be a theme that carries on into October, so use these opportunities well. On June 17th, we have Saturn turning retrograde in Pisces, and Saturn will remain retrograde in Pisces through the 4th of November. This is a time of a bit of recess for everybody, but it's important to keep in mind with Saturn turning retrograde, yes, the teacher has decided to give you a free period. The teacher has decided to step out of the classroom and give everyone, again, that recess, a time for a little bit of R&R. But don't get complacent or fritter this opportunity away. While this is a time of release and removal and ease of obligations, blocks, distractions, and obstructions, this is also a time to get ahead when it comes to problem solving and accomplishing things that have maybe been blocked or otherwise distracted or obstructed in some way by things that may have been bound to us, right? Kind of like what we talked about in the first chapter of this video, issues that we can't go forward with because of something that we may share by association, or energies that are being shared or woven into our experience through other people, through shared experience. That's all getting eased, and this is giving us a chance to be, again, more sovereign and move ahead out of challenged conditions. But remember, Saturn will be turning direct on November 4th. And so good students are going to be, of course, doing a little bit of their homework, doing a bit of their studies during their downtime. It wouldn't hurt to read a book during summer vacation. It wouldn't hurt to get started on that paper before winter break. It would not hurt you to get ahead of the class. And this is a time where we want to make sure that we are not only willing, but smart enough to know where this is a good thing. And this is often a lesson that is getting learned by people that would be born with a Saturn retrograde in their natal chart. They are always in a space where they are given the bit of a gift of giving things the slip, getting out of trouble, going unnoticed, but at the same time, they need to make sure that they are not using all of their skills to just kind of stay in that space, right? It can be kind of hard to develop a mastery of something if you're not really training, but rather just learning all of the social moves to get where you want to go. And I'm not saying that to call out the Saturn retrograde people, but I have noticed, especially with some people that I know in my personal life, one of my best friends actually, who has a Saturn retrograde in his natal chart, Sometimes some things might be slow to develop because they're often given a chance to skip it. And you want to make sure that while you do have the power to give things the slip, right, that can come in very handy in situations where we need to duck out of something that doesn't work for us, or something that is an obstruction or an obligation or a block or a tie that binds. You still want to make sure that you are developing a skill and getting ahead and not leaving a gap in your knowledge because of what you've learned how to do when it comes to slip out of things. It's okay to slip out, just make sure you still learned the curriculum of the class. If you are in Aries, this retrograde is going to be taking place in your 12th house of your past, privacy, and hidden zone. Things that you might have that connect you to the past, old business, unfinished business, as well as matters that you're not sharing with the general public. If you are a Taurus, this is occurring in your 11th house of friendships and social networking, your platonic support system, the guys, the gals, as well as your loftiest goals and ambitions. If you are a Gemini, this is occurring in your 10th house of career, upward mobility, status, station, promotion, raises. If you are a Cancer, this is going to be occurring in your 9th house of higher education, government legal proceedings, travel, getting you out of your bubble, popularizing yourself, right? Popularity, expansion, your reach, expansion of business, as well as your spiritual path and practice. If you are a Leo, this is occurring in your 8th house of shared resources, passive income, intimacy, self-employment earnings, supplemental income, investments, and money that you may share with a partner, be it a spouse or a business partner. If you are a Virgo, this is occurring in your 7th house of partnerships and closest one-on-one connections, right? The boyfriend, girlfriend, BFF, business partner, husband, wife, roommate, all the people you have your closest one-on-one involvements and connections with. If you are a Libra, this is happening in your 6th house of work, your reputation, your schedule, business in general, the services that you offer to the world, and the services that you give to the world alongside other people, right? The people you serve with. If you are a Scorpio, this is happening in your 5th house of romance, creativity, recreation, monetizable talents, as well as your relationships with your kids and parenthood. If you are a Sagittarius, this is happening in your 4th house of home and family, your living situation, home economy, your roots, as well as your natal family, or maybe things that are passed down through your family. If you are a Capricorn, this is happening in your 3rd house of communications, pacts, promises, commitments, your peer group, as well as collaborations and helpful third parties. If you are an Aquarius, this is happening in your 2nd house of earned income, employment, your values and your valuables. And if you are a Pisces, this is happening in your sign. So this is going to be affecting all areas of your life at once. When we have a planet in our sign, right, we get the wild card blessing or the wild card experience, which is kind of giving our entire chart a very big work over. So you might be noticing this is affecting your work life one day, your home life the next, your love life the next, and so on and so forth. You get a little bit of this everywhere. And again, this is going to be happening for each and all of us June 17th through November 4th. Now, for much of the same time, in the same sign, Pisces, Neptune is going to be retrograde from June 30th through the 6th of December. And Neptune retrograde is all about veils dropping, truths coming to light, important reveals, mystery solving, puzzles coming together, and getting clarity and direction in confusing or complicated situations. However, Neptune retrograde does have a little bit of a challenging side, and that can also, it can be about information overload. We might end up sometimes in a situation where we go through a bit of a philosophical or existential or identity crisis, because there is such a thing as too much being said or taking on too much information all at the same time, and that can kind of cause, the internal computer to kind of freak out for a little bit. And so we want to make sure that we pace ourselves, but also keep in mind that all of these things are still good things. It can actually be a lesson for Neptune retrograde people, right? People who have Neptune retrograde in their natal chart, such as myself, to know when they're saying too much and knowing when important reveals and truths coming to light also, can be very helpful, but there is a right way to say it and a right way to do it and a wrong way to say it and a wrong way to do it, right? A lot of people need to learn that lesson, especially nowadays. How you say something, the energy you put behind it is just as important as what you're saying. And I know that might sound like a personal attack against people who've never bothered to learn manners. And it is. But it's also important to know how to read the room, and it's also important to know how to sense the energies that you are carrying when you are putting those energies out there and what you're saying with your mood, your emotions, and your own force. And that is a lesson because, even as a kid with Neptune retrograde in my natal chart, I've always been somebody who's like, look, I'm always saying, I'm always spitting out the truth, right? I'm a reader, Neptune retrograde in the third house, really good for, psychic readings. But when I was a kid, I used to kind of drop truths that maybe would have been better to drop a different way. Or maybe at a better time. I was that kind of kid. But you said this, but he did this, that kind of thing. That's a very Neptune retrograde kid moment. And so we all have to pay attention to when that might be going on. But veils dropping, truths coming out, important reveals, mystery solving, puzzles coming together, this still works for everybody. And again, this is happening all in the same place as Saturn retrograde. And so, what we just talked about with Saturn retrograde, it's in the same places for each and all of us. So that is what I've got as a little bit of a special rundown of the retrograde season that we are all entering into. Remember, each of these planets is going to be retrograde up until we get to about October, and then Pluto turns direct, and then Saturn turns direct in November, and then finally Neptune in December. And we will also have Uranus retrograde entering the mix as we get closer to, August, September, but we will wait until we're closer to that period in time to talk about that. So you all take care. Thank you so much for dropping by, and stay tuned. Of course, more astrology videos coming out very, very soon. If you did enjoy this video, please like, share, and subscribe. I appreciate it. And of course, engagement helps this channel grow. And if you ever want to get a session with me, you can go on ahead to my website. It's integrativemysticism.com.